I always like to take a moment to pause just to listen to the bells. All right. I think we can get started now. As I said, thank you so much for joining. My name is JaKenna. For those of you who I don't know yet, I am the one who will be holding space for this webinar today. And while we're waiting for the last few people to join, I would love to go ahead and invite us all to land, to arrive in this space together. So before the introductions and the expectations of the hour starts to really set in, we'll take a few moments to ground ourselves with an opening meditation. So if you're just joining, we'll be moving right into a meditation. And I'll guide you through the first part of the meditation, but then I will actually invite silence for 1 minute just to give us all that time to come into this space, let go of our day. So we'll go ahead and get started. If it feels comfortable for you, I invite you to close your eyes or keep your gaze soft and just take a moment to land. You can let go of whatever it was that happened during your day. Maybe it's later in the afternoon, like it is here in Europe, or maybe it's the early morning if you're calling in from the United States. But just let whatever did happen already, let it exist there in the past so that you get to exist here presently in this space together. And just start to notice your body, notice how it's resting on the surface beneath you. Maybe it's a chair or the bed or the floor. Just sort of noticing your weight as it's leaning into this support surface. Start to notice your breath, how each inhale and each exhale is moving through you today. Maybe your breath is fast or slow. Perhaps it's deep or shallow. Just observing. And slowly begin to deepen your breath in whatever way feels comfortable for you. Perhaps it's finding a depth or a length through the cycle of each breath, just allowing it to become a bit more full. And keeping your focus on your breath. And be gentle if your mind wanders, if it picks up any thoughts or parts of your day, just guide your mind back to your breath. And maybe it happens one time, maybe it happens 100 times. It's a part of the practice to guide it back. And then we'll take our 1 minute of silence now. Okay. You're welcome to very slowly blink your eyes open or raise your gaze. It's always surprising to me how sometimes fast and sometimes slow 1 minute can go. Okay, so we are here together. As I said, my name is JaKenna. And today we're going to explore resonance and the concept of how to live your resonance. And I will get into what that means in a little bit later in case you're sort of unfamiliar with what that word is. And we'll also explore some practices for how to live your resonance as we're heading into this summer season. Part of the series, a sort of webinar series that I'm doing together with the Mindfulness app, are seasonal based. So we did one in March that was around spring and the energy of spring. And so today is our energy of summer. And always through the lens of our most resonant selves. And again, I'll go into that in a little bit more detail in a bit. Throughout, I will invite sort of reflection, and that can come in whatever way feels comfortable for you. Maybe it's writing something in the chat, or maybe it's just thinking deeply about something or journaling. It's completely up to you. I'll also guide a live meditation that will include a visualization around summer. And then I'll save a few minutes at the end for a Q&A where you are free to ask any questions that you might have. And of course, if any questions come up, I will keep my eye on the chat. And so you're welcome to ask them also as they arise. And I welcome that offering into the space. The last couple of minutes after our Q&A, we'll have a final closing meditation, something I like to call a conscious completion of our time together. And that will just be a couple of minutes to acknowledge what we created and sort of say farewell as we prepare for the next part of our day. And I made a few slides, not too many, but just a few slides that I'll share now. Those sort of will help us navigate our time together today. So if you give me a moment, I will just share my screen so you are all able to see. Lovely. And I'll pull up the chat so that I can keep an eye on that. Yes. Okay. So, as I said, today we will talk about resonance, and I'll also mention something called frequency. And I know that maybe these words have a little bit of meaning to you. Maybe there's a general understanding of what they mean, but you're not quite sure how they apply to meditation or mindfulness or sense of self. And if you join my spring webinar, we did talk about this concept. It's really at the core of everything I do, and it is the theme that's woven through the webinars with the mindfulness app that I have this year. Um, and for those of us who are in Europe, or maybe I should say Northern Europe, it might feel like spring is kind of still getting started. There's sort of heat waves in some places, but when I'm in Copenhagen, we sort of have like cloudy days, cool days, warm days. Today was very humid, and so it can sometimes feel like is summer coming? Like where are we in the seasons right now? Hi, Linda. Thank you for joining. Welcome back. But our session today, we sort of want to call forth the energy of summer. And this is how we can support our transition into the season. It's not always easy transitioning through seasons, especially if we feel some friction with the season that we're in. And so this will sort of help us transition into summer. And before we dive in, I said this a little bit in the beginning, but our session today is as interactive as you want it to be. Very low pressure. It's a space for exploration, for growth, and honestly, for showing up exactly as you are right now. During our moments of reflection, as I say, you can think deeply about something. Maybe if you want to journal or you have a little place to take notes as I ask questions and offer reflections. And you're always welcome to offer your thoughts in the chat. And I want to hold this space as having a shared commitment that we will hold this safe space together, a safe and supported space for all of us here. Whichever way you choose to engage today, you're going to leave here with three very clear practices in how to welcome this summer season with openness, with joy, and with the courage to be seen in your full bloom, and maybe even the desire to be outside in the sun. So this is the second webinar I've hosted with the Mindfulness app, and I gave a little bit of a longer introduction in my spring webinar, so I'll keep it short today. But originally, I'm from the United States, just from a small town outside of Chicago. I've lived in Europe for over 10 years, the last eight in Copenhagen, where I'm based. But I spent 16 years working in a completely different world, digital marketing and e-commerce, in leadership roles across the globe, New York, Amsterdam, and then also Copenhagen. And during my career, I discovered that I had a passion for empowering others. As soon as I started moving into managerial positions, the thing that got me most excited about coming into the office every day was not anymore the details of the work, but in fact, it was my team. They were always my favorite part of the day. And I think that they could feel it because over time, I started to be sought out by colleagues and team members for coaching or mentoring or career advice. And so I started to realize that these natural abilities within myself were actually could be translated into bringing it more fully into the world. And so I pursued a coaching certification. Um, I have had a 20-year relationship with yoga, and that inspired me to do various yoga teacher certifications as well. And so I left the corporate world, and in January 2025, so just only a year and a half ago, I founded my own company called the Gilbert Collaborative. And this offers sort of a combination of coaching, movement, and mindfulness services to clients, both individuals, but also in group and team settings. And it's really about guiding people, whether it's individually or together as a team, to not just follow a path, but to very deliberately design a path that resonates with you as an individual self, but also as a team. What are your shared commitments that you have together as a team, and how do you express those? And an important part of my history is also that I studied psychology and evolutionary anthropology at university. So I have academic roots in the study of humans and human behavior, and really how that experiences, how those experiences, both shared and collective, sort of shape and define us as people. But I want to take a minute to stop sharing my screen for a moment. And if you join my spring webinar, you know that I also shared something quite personal about myself in that in that webinar, and I want to share it again today. And I kind of went back and forth on if I should, but in the end, I've decided to because it's an important part of my history. And that is, as I said, I'm based here in Copenhagen. My husband is Danish. We have two kids. Ella is 7 years old, and Desmond is 3 years old. And I want to point this out that during that time of my time in Copenhagen, after my first son was born, I realized that I was falling into a postpartum depression. And even though I was functioning and I could care for my son, it was very dark times. I was very like deeply exhausted. I was very numb to my emotions. My usual coping mechanisms were not working. And it took me, a couple of years to realize that something was wrong because I kept rationalizing it in my brain that this was just how it was for new parents. But in fact, it was a postpartum depression. And I found healing through that, through yoga, meditation, therapy, support from my loved ones. Um, and through that reflection and that growth is when really my new calling started to take shape. And so that's when my kind of formal introduction comes back into the picture. It was that transition during my 16-year career into leadership that helped me understand what my natural abilities were. But then it was the postpartum depression that helped me really carve out a new path. It's coaching and yoga certifications. And I also took deeper certifications in pregnancy and postpartum yoga. And then my degrees in psychology and anthropology really started to come back more to the surface. And all of these combined really helped me awaken into what my path was, is really people-centered work. Um, and through that path and friendships and relationships, I found my way to the Mindfulness app. And that's why we're all here together today. So thank you for listening to that story, to that part of my history. As I said, I kind of went back and forth on if I should share it again today since I shared it in the spring webinar, but it's a crucial piece of my story and why why I'm really here today. Okay, so now we go into back into the presentation, and I'll bring the chat back up. Yes. Okay. So, what you see on the screen right now are about 22 meditations that I have live on the app now. And just today, about 12 more were added. And they're all between about 2 and 15 minutes. And so, this is how you can tap into my offerings outside of our webinar today. There's meditations around sleep, around stress, de stressing, mind body connection, cultivating presence, living your resonance, which what we'll talk about today. And I always like to say that please let me know if there's something interesting that you want me to create a meditation around. The meditation you'll see there on the screen called Grounded in Every Step is a walking meditation. That one of my clients was asked me if I would be open to creating a walking meditation because she's like, I want to listen to your meditations, but I want to be walking. So, I love to sort of co-create. And I also want to give a little shout out to my brother because he is actually my kind of co-partner, my partner in the production of these. He is the musician and the music producer behind each meditation. So all of the music that you hear, the sounds from our natural world, whether it's wind or waves or water, are all produced by him. He records his own ambient sound and own sound from our beautiful earth, and we weave them into the meditation experience. So that's where you can find me outside of today. All right, so resonance. You've heard me say it a few times today. What is it? Um, so how I like to describe resonance is what happens when something vibrates at its truest frequency. And sometimes that can feel like almost like a buzzing in the body when something just like aligns and it feels right. I like to compare it to a tuning fork. I always imagine a tuning fork because when a tuning fork is struck, it expresses its unique sound, not the sound of the tuning fork next to it or any other sound around it. It sings the sound that it was uniquely created to produce. And so, resonance and that feeling of vibrating at your frequency, it can be very powerful and it's very unique to you. It's when your life choices, your values, your sense of self are all in alignment, and you feel this. You feel this deep in your body. You can see it in your decisions, in the quality of your relationships, the integrity of your work, or how you're walking through the days. And you might have this feeling of resonance that comes in the form of transformation, and you sort of realize that there's no going back to the way things used to be. It's sort of an acceptance of our truest self in that moment. And I'll just share one anecdote from my past to help kind of illustrate this point and a reason why I believe so strongly in it, because it happened, it happened to me. But when I was still in the sort of early stages of navigating my postpartum depression, I remember very clearly sitting with my son one day outside on the edge of a forest, and we were sort of gazing into the trees. We were very calm. It was very quiet. And from absolutely out of nowhere, a thought just dropped into my mind, and it said, you should do a yoga teacher training. And it was so clear, and I felt it so strongly that I knew I had to do it. There was no going back after that. And I did. I did a yoga teacher training. And then, even to further illustrate this point, when I was on the training, there's a woman as part of the training who I'm still very close with today. And she asked me, have you ever considered being a coach? And the moment that she said the words, it's as if my soul like dropped into my body. It's like I knew for sure, 100% without a doubt, that that's what I was this whole time. I may have had a career as a digital director, but I knew to my core that I was a coach. And 1 month later is when I started my first coaching training. So we've all sort of had that moment of resonance at some point in our lives when something was very clear, where the direction was very clear, when something inside of us just said yes. And now, summer is that feeling encapsulated completely. You are open and you're shining, you're sort of soaking up the abundance of the world around you. We'll get back to how summer and resonance go together in just a moment, because I also want to note that we know when something does not feel right. The opposite of resonance is dissonance, a disconnect, a tension in how you are and how you're living your life. I felt this deep dissonance during my postpartum depression. It was like completely disconnected from myself. And we are in modern day very disconnected from the signals and the signs from our body because our modern lifestyle doesn't support us in sitting still and enjoying silence. That's why our meditation practice is so important. It helps us reconnect with that part of ourselves. And sometimes dissonance comes very quietly at first. We might ignore it for a little while. Our intuition is saying something to us, but we ignore it. But eventually, that disconnect starts to catch up with us. Our bodies start to catch up with us. We see it in burnout or sick leave, depression, or other physical ailments like headaches, body aches, this sort of like deep exhaustion, even though maybe you're actually getting enough sleep, but you are tired. And these are the signs that something is off, that we are far from our resonant selves and what is bringing that aliveness into ourselves. Resonance is when you come home to yourself and you feel the deep connection to your inner world, and it is shining through to your outer world. And I believe so strongly in resonance, in the transformative power of living in resonance, that internal vibration, that I root my entire practice in pursuit of resonance with every single person that I work with. It is absolutely at the core of what I do. And I actually developed a whole methodology around it. And if you're in my spring webinar, you've seen this before, but I call it the Gilbert Resonance Model. It's a coaching, meditation, and mindfulness methodology for living and leading in full resonance. And it's built really on all the parts of my own history, my educational studies, my lived experience, all coming together as an offering to those I work with, because it informs everything that I do, including the meditations that I write. In short, you'll see past you, present you, and future you represented in the corners of the triangle. And then the words foundation, integration, and creation as the sides. The methodology is built on honoring past you and your unique lived experiences that only you have, and how that has shaped you and laid the foundation for who you are today, present you. And the person you are today gets to actively choose to make peace with that past and that part of your journey. And this is really rooted in my studies in psychology and anthropology coming through into the model. And now, learning from past you and your lived experiences, it gives you the wisdom to integrate into future you more seamlessly. It's the wisdom that you have to not make the same mistakes twice. And so recognizing present you, accepting who you are in the moment today, this was really rooted in our meditation, our mindfulness practice, being still long enough to listen to our inner world and all of its deep knowledge. And this allows you to consciously create your future you, which is what my coaching practice is based in. And it's the knowledge that you have the right and you have the tools to design and live your own life. And at the center is the resonant you, the most honest, the most aligned, and fully alive version of yourself. It's when all of the parts of you are vibrating at your truest frequency, like you've found the tuning fork of your life and you are vibrating to that frequency. So, this is the philosophy that we ground ourselves in today. This is what resonance means. It's the context of resonance that we have in our session today. So now let's talk about summer and how summer and resonance are represented together, how they work together. It's deeply connected. And I want to take a moment to note that we often talk about summer as a time for rest and for holiday. And it absolutely is, and it can be. We deserve to have that break. There's so much truth in that. But summer also carries a very specific quality of energy with it, and it goes pretty deep. It is the season of full expression. It is joy. It is connection to others as we are just outside in community more. It's the will and the desire really to be seen. And I say that in a way of, physically being seen because we are out in the world more, but also kind of our inner world wants to come out in summer. It wants to be expressed. There's a radiance here. It's fiery. It's expansive. It is the energy of an open bloom that is very confidently and happily soaking up the rays of the sun. Imagine the sunflowers, the fields of flowers, the lilacs that have been blooming in May. Um, they are so confidently open and happy to soak up the bright rays of the sun. And what's interesting about summer is that there's also this energy of discernment, okay? Discernment where we sort out what nourishes and what does not nourish our blooming. So there's a direction here, there's a clarity here. And so really, if we think back to the flowers, and you'll notice my presentation, there are flowers absolutely everywhere. It's like summer just exploded onto the pages. But think of a flower blooming. The flower, it wants to be seen. It wants the bees, the insects, all of the pollinators to come and gather nectar and pollen and share this abundance, share its offerings. And, there's an element of why here. It's sort of like giving for the sake of giving, maybe. And there's also this element of being able to bloom again next year. So it's almost like being able to be in our full bloom, being seen this way and having others feel that and see that, it gives us that energy that we'll need for next year as well. It plants even a deeper feeling of resonance for us to be able to bloom again next year. And now, for the flowers, for the plants, it takes so much energy to bloom, right? It takes so much energy, and they've waited the whole year to be able to bloom. And in this way, there is discernment because they know how to direct their energy to their bloom, and they know where they need to conserve or where they need to let go of. Mhm. So here we are today thinking about the summer season and holding these two things together. We are holding full radiance, this expression, blooming, and we're also holding this clear discernment, this direction, this understanding of what we need to bloom and what we need to let go of. Hmm? So spring asked you to sort of water the seeds. Okay. Summer asks you whether you are willing to let them be seen in full bloom because whatever has been activated is shining outward. You can't keep it small anymore. As small anymore. It wants to be big. And there's something also important to say here in that spring had sort of like patience built into it. It was the energy of something kind of quietly gathering itself and like waiting for the right moment to move. But summer has a different quality. The light is long, the days are full, the blooms are open, and there's confidence and there's direction. Mm. So the questions that we explore in summer are at the bottom of the screen there. If you can read them, it might be small. It says, what wants to be fully expressed in me this summer? Mm. Where am I choosing to direct my energy? What genuinely lights me up this season? And what can I radiate this season? And I'll just take a moment to pause here as a moment of reflection, just for you to think, maybe to write, maybe drop something in the chat. But just giving yourself that space to let these questions sort of land in you. And as those questions are sort of giving rise to something in you, my final question I'll ask is, what would I express this summer if I trusted my own resonance completely? And think about what that would look like in your life in this season right now with everything you know about yourself. What would you bring forward? What would you change? How would you show up? How would you speak? How would you lead? How would you love if you trusted your own resonance completely? Mhm. I'm going to give you those few moments to just let everything we've explored so far sort of find its place within you. And after a few moments, I'll guide us through our meditation where we'll sort of land these a little bit more. Okay, let's move into our meditation. Um, so during the meditation, I will offer sort of moments of visualization. And sometimes our brains, not sometimes, in general, all of our brains, they work very differently, right? And so as I am describing the meditation, and invitations to visualize something, if your inner mind takes my words as pictures or moving images, then I invite you to create that space for yourself. And if your mind works in a different way, maybe it thinks more in words or colors or sensations, then you can create that space for yourself. I just want to acknowledge that not all of us visualize things in the same way. So let's stay open to whatever does come up and give space for your kind of curiosity to just observe your inner world. Okay. If you are comfortable doing so, I once again invite you to close your eyes or keep your gaze soft. And once more, starting to notice your body in this space. And notice the surface beneath your body, all of the parts of your body that are coming into contact with this surface. Let this surface support you. Let it hold you. Begin to notice your breath. Checking in with your inhales and your exhales. Letting your breath guide and ground you in this moment, even if your mind wanders. There's always the practice of bringing it back to your breath, to this moment. I invite you to take a deep inhale through your nose, an open mouth, side out. Two more like that. Inhaling through the nose, open mouth, side out. And last time, inhaling through the nose, then open mouth, side out. And now begin to imagine yourself walking along a path. And around you is a field of green grass. In the distance, you can see the ocean. Above you, you can see the blue sky and a few little white clouds along the horizon. There is a gentleness in this space. There's a calmness here as you sense your surroundings. And you start to notice all the details of this place, the brightness, the vividness of the colors. Even noticing the textures of the grass, noticing the texture of the ocean in the distance, seeing sort of gentle waves ebbing and flowing out from the shore. Noticing the texture of the clouds above you and seeing the sun bright, shining in the sky. You can feel the sun, the warmth on your skin. You can even feel a slight breeze through the air and hear it rustling through the grass. Perhaps you can even smell the salty ocean in the distance. And you notice your feet on the path as you are walking one step at a time, feeling the texture of the path beneath your feet. What does it feel like to be walking in this place? And as you're walking along this path, you start to notice something coming in front of you. It is a field of sunflowers, as far as you can see, sunflowers. And as you get closer, you see the sunflowers are tall, they're almost to your shoulder. And they're bright, they're beautiful, golden, yellow, and bright green leaves and stems. You notice the blooms, how open they are and how they are orienting, they're turning themselves towards the sun. This entire field of sunflowers basking in the light of the sun. You can feel the warmth of the sun on your skin, just like the sunflowers can feel it as well. And you decide to step off the path and walk into the field of sunflowers, curious and exploring and noticing all of their details up close. The texture of their petals. Maybe there's even some insects buzzing around, gathering pollen. You can sense a very special energy here. And you feel very calm and comfortable at ease in this place. Almost like summer is alive all around you, and you found this special place where you belong here. And slowly you come to a stop in the middle of the sunflowers, and you do as the sunflowers do. You turn yourself towards the sun. You can feel the warmth of the sun on your eyelids, on your face, on your neck, your shoulders, and your arms. And you can feel this warmth in your chest, in your heart space. And you let this warmth from the sun sink deeply into you, just like the sunflowers do. And standing in this light, something within you feels called forward to be expressed. Something that has been gathering all season, and it is searching for the warmth and the light from the sun, and it's ready to be expressed. It's ready to radiate from you. And only you know what that is. Let it surface gently. Whatever comes up, let it be there with you. No judgments, just acknowledging what it might be. And as you feel the importance of this, of what wants to be expressed, you ask yourself, what is important to me about this, about expressing this? You ask yourself, what do I already know is true about this? You ask yourself, what will I radiate this summer? And finally, what does my resonance want to offer this season? And you slowly let the truths of these answers settle within you. And as you're standing there in your full bloom, feeling your resonant self, you gaze around at the other sunflowers and you feel this deep gratitude and joy and connection for what they've offered you today. And that's an invitation to receive the sun's warmth and light and to connect with what is longing to be expressed in you this summer. This is the heart of the summer season: warmth, joy, connection, expression. And you're letting yourself bloom this season. And now you know that it's time to leave this place, this beautiful field of sunflowers. And you slowly start to walk back through the field and back to the path where we started our journey. Noticing once more your feet, step by step, walking along this path, leaving the sunflowers and starting to see the fields of grass around you, the ocean in the distance, the sky above. And staying with this feeling of resonance, you slowly begin to let the images around you fade into the background of your memory. And you begin to notice your breath here and now in this moment, feeling your body as it rests on the surface beneath you, reconnecting to the space that you're in. And when you're ready, I invite you to place a hand on your heart and one hand on your belly. Just breathe into this space, feeling the warmth of your hands pressing against your clothes, your skin. And let the truths of what we explored today stay with you. And as we move away from our meditation practice today, I invite you to keep your gaze soft, look away from the computer for a few minutes, and I invite you to reflect, maybe journaling or just thinking, maybe offering something into the chat if it feels comfortable. Otherwise, we'll take just a few minutes to sort of let that experience land before we move forward. as we head into the last moments of our practice or our session today. As I said in the beginning, you'll walk away with some practices for how to connect with this feeling of resonance and how that is expressed in summer. And the first one is to turn toward the sun. And I mean that literally and figuratively. Because remember, the sunflower, it doesn't decide each morning whether it deserves the sun. It simply opens, it simply turns towards the sun, and it receives the energy and the rays from the sun. And so this summer, I invite you to do the same thing. Each morning, ask yourself one question. What is genuinely calling my energy today? Not what's expected of you and not what you feel obligated to do, but what is actually calling you. The thing that when you give your attention to it, you feel completely alive. I remember when I was working in an office, that thing for me was my team. Being a leader and a mentor and a coach to my team, that genuinely got me so excited, pulled me out of bed and into the office. That's where I wanted to direct my energy. And so, what about you? Where is your resonance asking for you to be fully present? Orient toward that, and everything else will follow from there. The second is to trust your joy as a signal. And I say that because we've spent a very long time treating joy as something that we earn at the end of hard work. It can kind of be like the carrot at the end of the stick. But joy is one of these clear signals from the resonant part of you. It's not an indulgence, it is information. So, this season, when something genuinely lights you up, when something genuinely brings you joy, a conversation, a moment, a project, a person, just pause, notice it, name it. And the practice is learning to trust that signal as data about who you are and what you have to offer, rather than something to be explained away or saved for later. You get to experience joy. And the third one is express yourself. This is the practice of moving from this internal resonance into visible expression, one moment at a time. So I have an invitation for you to choose one thing each week that asks you to be seen. And the size of it, actually, it doesn't matter. It can be as big or it can be as little as you want. It can be a thought that you want to share in a meeting. It can be a boundary, maybe, that you need to name with someone in your life, a piece of work or art or something you've created that you want to offer out into the world without underselling it. And it could be the thing that came up during our meditation today, whatever that might be. Maybe it's wanting to connect more with the curious part of yourself, or maybe connect more with the adventurous part of yourself, whatever that might be. But the perspective that you voice, when you usually stay quiet, is what wants to come out today. And each one of these practices is self-authority. Each one is the sunflower turning toward the light. And over the course of a summer, they add up to living in your bloom. So let yourself be seen. I have a question in the chat, and Regina, thank you so much for offering that. I'm going to hold it and then I will answer it in just a few minutes. Before we close, I just want to give you a glimpse of what's coming next in this series. As I said, the summer webinar is the second in our seasonal journey together. The next one will be in autumn. This season of letting go, the leaves know when to leave the tree. And so, in that sense, we will discuss our relationship with how resonance invites us also to let go. And then as we move into winter, this season of stillness and quiet, we'll start to explore what our resonance is like when we are still, when there's real listening happening. And this is sort of the full arc of the series this year, and we'll share links and all of that closer to them. And before we end, I just wanted to put my contact information up on the screen. You'll see it there. If you do want to reach out, I love to hear from you. If you listen to the meditations on the app, then if you want to offer anything that you'd like to hear more of, I would love to co-create a meditation with you. You can find me at my email. It's JaKenna@gilbertcollab.com or on Instagram where I'm just at JaKenna. Benefits of having a unique name. And if you're in Copenhagen, you can find me teaching yoga at Yoga Vesterbro every Monday morning. Okay, I will stop sharing my screen now and we can move into some moments of Q&A. So Regina, thank you so much. You said, I'm at a point in my life where I feel lost and overloaded. I used to practice mindfulness, but it seems like stopping to do it makes me more anxious. Any advice? Yeah, first of all, thank you for sharing. Just thank you for being open. I think many of us can relate to this feeling, this sensation where that practice feels far away. And the advice that I would give to that is sometimes we set the expectations of what something is supposed to be, that they become overwhelming. We think that a meditation, a mindfulness, a yoga practice, whatever it might be, has to exist in a specific framework. I used to tell myself that I needed to get up at 6 a.m. every single day to do a yoga practice. And if I couldn't do that, then the rest of the day was lost and I couldn't do a practice any other part of the day. So what I invite is to be a bit more gentle with that, with those expectations. I often tell my clients, one breath, one intentional breath, where you feel your inhale and you feel your exhale, that counts as mindfulness. Just taking that moment, maybe 1 minute of silence throughout your day, 1 minute, 60 seconds is all you need. Because when we break down the barriers, when we break down the expectations and give ourselves some grace to just take one breath, that's a start. That's a start. And that's the practice. That's the practice, really. I also want to say that we sometimes think of meditation or mindfulness as a very formal practice where you have to be like seated and still and completely blocking everything out, and we really bring the strictness to the practice. And sometimes I tell people you can be meditating while brushing your teeth or taking a walk or making a tea. It's just having the moment to really observe what you're doing, to experience what you're doing. Maybe you're brushing your teeth and you're actually noticing your teeth getting cleaner. Just being present in that moment is a mindfulness practice. Mm. So I offer that into this space. And Regina, I also offer if you want to connect on this topic further or you want to just chat a little bit more, you're always welcome to reach out and contact me. Mm. Mhm. And if there are any other questions or thoughts, you're welcome to bring them into the chat. Mm. Thank you, Annie. Thank you. Mm. And in our last few minutes, if there are no other questions or thoughts, um, I'll just guide us in these last couple of minutes in a conscious completion moment. I actually do this with my clients as well. It's just that moment to acknowledge what we created and also give ourselves some headspace as we move into the rest of our day. From Lima. Oh, Manuel, so nice. We'll just take a moment, offering in to acknowledge what we created here today, this safe space to explore resonance, explore the summer season. And if you'd like to once more in our session today, close your eyes or keep your gaze soft and take a moment to connect with your breath and Let yourself be here now, letting everything that we talked about sink into your being. Let the truths resonate within you and notice how you're feeling as we're entering into the summer season. Remembering that your blooms are wanting to be expressed. Your blooms want to feel the abundance around you, and that you deserve to feel that abundance. Thank you all so much for joining. If your eyes are closed or your gaze soft, I invite you to open your eyes or raise your gaze, and we'll just stay here for a few more minutes to hold the space a little longer for anyone who may want to stay or anyone who may want to ask questions. Um, but I'll continue to hold the space. Thank you so much for joining. Actually, I think I'll put my contact information in the chat so then you also have it. And it'll come up as Tekla since I am logged into her Zoom account. Yes, but that's me. Thank you, Corey, and thank you, Terhi, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, from Finland. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you, Anita. Thank you. Thank you all. Sunshine from Falun. Thank you, Ulrika. Thank you, and you as well, then. Karen, lovely. Thank you. Mm. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. Truly grateful. Mm. Ah, Angela, thank you for pointing that out. Of course, Southern Hemisphere, you're, you're going into winter. You know, I actually, the first country I ever visited was South Africa. It'll always have a very special place in my heart. It was part of my anthropology program. I was like excavating at caves in Botswana and then in South Africa in Bloemfontein, outside of Cape Town. It was a lovely experience. And I remember being there. It was over the summer, Northern Hemisphere summer, you can say, so winter there. And I remember waking up, there'd be frost outside of the tent, and then um, it would be so warm during the day that we'd have to put sunscreen on, So it was so lovely to be in such a different environment than what I'm used to. But anyway, fond memories of South Africa. Oh, lovely. You can see the old carvings on the old paintings. Wow. So much rich history or human ancestry in South Africa. Very cool. Thank you for sharing that, Angela. All right. So we've come to the end of our time. Oh, Karen, where do you find the contact information? Yes, I can put it into the chat now. It'll come up as a different picture because it's Tekla who has oh, I'm so sorry. I realized I didn't put it in the right. I said to post in panels instead of to everybody. Here you go. There you go. Oh, I'm so sorry. I sent it accidentally to just the host and the panelists and not everyone. But you should have it in there now, my email address. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. I'll leave it up for a few minutes, so I'll stay on just in case anybody wants to copy paste or copy it down. Lovely. All right, everyone. Thank you all once again for joining. I'll be signing off now, and I hope to hear from you soon. Thank you. Bye. Bye.